afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our latest installment of MSP Business School. I'm Brian Doyle, and with me, as always, are Tim McNeil and Rob Rogers. Good afternoon, guys.
Hola.
Maybe I should be saying good morning, too, to those people that aren't listening afternoon time, right?
Yeah.
So today we have one of our traditional roundtables where we're going to get together and kind of share something that we've learned along the way with all you listeners. And today we're going to talk about one that really impacts any business, not just the MSPs, and that is marketing is not sales. And I think there's this feeling, Tim, you were just talking about it, and I'm sure you'll get into it a little bit more prior to us kicking off today, but there's this feeling like, hey, if I got a cool marketing program, that's all I got to do. Mm-hmm. The business will come.
Yeah.
And I think if you talk to most MSP owners, when did that ever happen?
Yeah, never. I'm just gonna do marketing for like 6 months, get a bunch of leads, close some deals, and then I'm gonna start working with you guys.
I got a great idea.
Business. Yeah. Let me tell you how many times that happens.
Did you know I'm gonna do Facebook ads?
Yeah.
Did you know we're gonna post on social media?
Yeah.
So, maybe let's talk a little bit about that though in more detail, right? I think before you can even say you're going to do marketing, you got to say to yourself, what's your marketing strategy, right?
And what's the goal?
What's the goal we're trying to accomplish? And more importantly, and I think this is one of the more overlooked steps. Where do the people that I'm trying to market to hang out and live? I'm a big fan of anytime we're looking at doing something new within our software. And, certainly I followed the same lead anytime we were looking at a different vertical within my MSP. Mm-hmm. It was, what does the buyer persona look like? Who are the people we're going out to sell to? What is their story? What are they about? And what matters to them? Mm-hmm. And if what I had didn't match up with them, then I probably don't have the right thing. Right. So that's kind of where I started in, from a strategy development. How about yourselves?
Yeah. I mean, look, whether it's a marketing or a sales strategy, if you don't have your ideal client persona mapped out already, radius, size of that client, in the industry that they're in, then if you don't do that first, then you're doing a lot of work for nothing. The most important thing from just a pure marketing standpoint, I mean, sales and marketing, is identifying who your ideal prospect or who your ideal client's going to be. Once you have that in those verticals within your geographic reach and the size that you're looking for, once you have that, then it's game on. It's game on.
Yeah. So. And the way I like to approach it too is really literally sit down and define the person by both, title, by, kind of what their income level is, depending on my geography there, because, obviously different things resonate depending on your demographics as well. I like to look at, where do they hang out? And what I mean by that is, what groups are they in on social media? What shows do they attend? And do those shows align with what my messaging is? What do they potentially read out there? Is there specific books they read? Things like that. And there's a cool tool called Sparktoro that actually helps with some of that too, where you can actually put in some of that criteria and they will help you identify where those people, live and breathe, so you can shorten up and kind of figure out where you're going to contribute or where you're going to try to market to or where you're going to buy ads, whatever your move is as well. So, I'm a big fan of kind of defining who the buyer is and then building, your next tier of your strategy, which is what are we going to include to engage with those people?
I mean, it's like fishing, right? You need to know where you're going. You need to know where you have to go to do the fishing, and you need to know what type of equipment you're going to use to catch that type of fish, right? So it's the exact same thing. You're throwing your lure into the area and you're trying to find the right thing for you. And marketing is the exact same way. The thing that people sometimes confuse with marketing and sales is marketing, the only thing that it's able to do is drive awareness, drive interest. The sales drives the results based off of that interest. So you have to have both components in order to be successful. So once you figure out that, then it's a lot easier to try and work from the goal and work backwards.
look, Rob and I, over the years, we have been proven wrong time and time again. For a long time, we did not believe in marketing. I'll be very honest with you. We just didn't, right? But we didn't really understand it either. And as we work with more mature MSPs as we have transitioned and worked with more mature MSPs over the years, it's just become unbelievably clear that if you have campaigns, marketing cadences, things going out on a regular basis, as well as having a sales team or a sales process of some kind, look, you're better. You are better for getting first-time appointments. You're better on close ratios. You're better on what the average MRR deal is once you do close those people. Everything is bigger, better, faster, as long as you have that consistent message. So.
And I like your analogy, Rob, on the teaching a man to fish, or the tools that you have fishing, because you also have to think of what's the content that you're going to put out there. And you were kind of touching upon that too, Timmy. If you're writing blogs, but your audience wants video, or if you're sending emails, but your audience only lives on social, you could be missing the boat. Now, the truth is everybody kind of lives somewhere, and there's probably different people in different spots, but how are you going to actually put this messaging together and distribute it out? And I think that's a very big lost part of the art form of marketing. What is your distribution plan? Everybody focuses on content creation, but doesn't focus on how it's going to get heard.
Yeah, I mean, look, going back to even as far as when Rob and I were still in the MSP space, what we found to be true back then, and what we're still finding true with a lot of our clients, is everybody does blogs, everybody does webinars, everybody does podcasts, everybody does social media, right? The one thing that can separate you, and this isn't hard and fast, this isn't a hard and fast rule, but one thing that we have seen better success with is sending something in the mail, and the ability for the prospect to actually open up something and then following up. And again, fought this for a long time, but the more we've been into this, the more I've seen the Robin Robbins-esque type of marketing. It works. It does. You've got to use it. You've got to be consistent, but it 100% can work for you.
In conjunction with a salesperson following up.
Yes. Thank you.
And there's the rub. There's the trick that like some people, the combination of the two is not 2 + 2 = 4. It's literally 2 + 2 = 7 or 8. It becomes a just like a very nice relationship between the two, but by themselves they're not very good.
Yeah.
Right. Tim and I used to be big believers in brute force cold calling, right? The only type of awareness campaign that you need to build is picking up that phone and call. Right. It's just, we're not in that environment anymore. It takes too many touch points calling by itself to get to that appointment, to get to that closed deal. You've got to have a multi-channel approach now. And that's where marketing really comes in and saves the day. It really does.
Yep. And, and I agree wholeheartedly with you guys in that, because, when I was in my MSP days, and even what I'm doing with a couple of folks I still consult to, is it's use your marketing to just get the familiarity out there. The big key when you are doing that calling, when your sales team is calling into that customer as in concert to what's going on with marketing, is can you get that person on the other side of the line to go, yeah, I think I've heard of you guys before,
yeah,
right? Because we're not household names as MSPs.
Yep.
If we can get them to go, yeah, I think I've heard of you guys before, instead of saying, I've never heard of you, or who are you?
Yep.
Then at least you've gotten that point where hey, they've encountered our brand somewhere, and you might be on touch 2 or 3 instead of touch 0.
That's right.
Or touch 1. And
the wall's not as high.
Nope. Yeah. And now if you've got a compelling sales conversation to have, and you've got something of merit to say, you've already broke down the first wall. They've taken your call. They now have at least a familiarity with you. And now you've got a higher probability, probably an exponential higher probability of getting an appointment, or at least a next step out of them, because there is that familiarity, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's all about, as a salesperson, as you're making cold calls on marketing material that went out. I mean, you've got to make sure you've got the same message, but also, look, you've got 6 seconds until somebody in their head is either going to keep on listening or they're done with you. So if you can, in that 6 seconds, figure out a way to relate that marketing piece that was sent out, whether email, whatever, lumpy mail, regular mail, email, etc., and that prospect can identify with that, it's all about staying on the phone 10 more seconds at that point. If you can get past 15 seconds, then you've got a good chance of getting your whole pitch in. And it's there is a tremendous amount of research that has gone into call lengths and when the grid is for the most important parts of those calls. And having somebody identify with you when you call you're over the biggest hurdle.
Yep.
We all like what's familiar, right? And we've got to create that familiarity. So when you look at your marketing strategy, define who your end user is, figure out how you're going to get content in front of them and how frequently. And if you want to talk about probably the biggest gift social media has provided us, it's the ability to get in front of people who might not be actively listening, but passively listening. Right. And being able to share that so they see the brand just as part of their newsfeed. And you can simply do that by being human and connecting. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you get a little deeper, then you can get into your email trail, which I'm sure is what you're referring to, Timmy, which really sets up the phone call. Right. So it's being very systematic about how marketing and sales needs to work together. So, I'm going to add to that. If you're not inviting marketing to your sales meetings, at least once or twice a month, you're probably missing a huge opportunity as well. Because anytime you talk rejections in your sales meeting, that's a marketing opportunity for education.
Yeah.
Anytime we talk about client mix, there's an opportunity to think about vertically specialized content that might resonate with those groups. Anytime you talk about customers you're trying to reach from a pure cold call perspective and you're not getting in line with, that's something your marketing team can work on from a connection standpoint within social media. So you really got to be looking and saying, how can we engage these two groups that tend to operate a little bit independently and can even have some walls up, right? Because each feels they're more important in some respects.
Yep.
And get these guys to work a little bit closer. I don't know if you guys have any perspectives or thoughts on that.
Rob, you want to?
Sure. So for, getting the marketing team and the sales team working closer, we both put their goals in line in the same funnel. So the marketing qualified lead, has a goal. Right. And so with our marketing people, everything that they say has to end with, this is how it's going to affect marketing qualified leads. And when you put it into perspective like that, even if they're talking about branding, they're bringing it back towards the sales funnel on the marketing qualified lead side. So the salesperson says, okay, these guys are really trying to help me build leads so I can take it from, marketing qualified lead to sales qualified lead. And when you put them in the same funnel, think about it, Brian, most dashboards out there have a marketing funnel and then they have a sales funnel. So we put them together whenever we're working with somebody and make sure that both of those pieces are right next to each other and they're coordinated between the two. And we do bring marketing and sales into the same meeting.
Yes.
You 100% have to, because this marketing team has to understand how hard it is for that salesperson to go out there and have yet another person hang up on them. Right? It's brutal, right? And so it's easy to build, the coolest looking Canva, dashboard or, social media thing. But how does that affect the sales guy or sales girl who has to go up and pick up the phone? When you bring them into the same room together, that's when, the silos do not form anymore and they're on the same page, on the same side of the battlefield.
Yeah. And that's a critical component of it, right? Is getting these guys to work in concert in order to close opportunity. And, I agree with you. There's no one tactic that's going to slay the dragon. You got to be hitting all of them. But, it is a brave new world order now. If you have to wait for your salesperson to make that ninth touch independently, you're talking about 2 months. And for some companies, they don't have 2 months for these guys to take to get those 9 touches going on. So if those sales and marketing teams are aligned and they know who the top targets are, there's ways to leverage the marketing team to put some of that brand awareness in front of those people in between the the salesperson sales call, right?
Yeah.
I'll put it like this, Brian. We work with a lot of MSPs. We have some MSPs that have a marketing presence, right, that's integrated, and we have some MSPs that don't. It's a no-brainer. The people that have marketing are crushing the people who don't. It's just working. It just is. So it behooves people to do it.
And we've worked with, there's plenty of companies that we've worked with or started working with over the years, going back, even back when we're lead gen. They may have had a sales team and they had a marketing team, and they literally never talked. They just didn't. The marketing team didn't tell the salespeople when a campaign would go out.
Yeah.
They didn't tell them what it was about. There was absolutely nothing. So separately, you're both climbing a mountain if you're not talking and communicating on what's going out, when it's going out, how the calls are going, all of that. So instead of creating those silos in-house, it is not only should they be in the same area of the office, assuming you're in an office, they need to be interacting, maybe not on a daily basis, but certainly more than once a week. And that's a huge misstep that we have seen over the years.
Well, you just hit one of the biggest things too, right? And it goes to that comment we hear from a lot of folks: marketing never worked for me. I spent money on XYZ and it didn't work. And I think you hit on the biggest thing indirectly there, Tim. If you don't have somebody following up on the marketing efforts when that touch point's hitting them relatively soon, it's a forgotten touch point. How much email do you get in your box per day? How much? But you also start getting to know some of the names that are coming in your box, even if you don't know the people, because they're associated with emails that come from specific companies.
Yeah. And also we've seen it. I'm not trying to throw stones. It's just the reality. We've seen a lot of companies where they'll start a marketing campaign in some way, shape, or form. Maybe they have a salesperson, maybe they don't, but they only do 2 campaigns or 3 campaigns. They want to evaluate and see how those campaigns go. I mean, and although I understand it, the reality is it's a long ball when it comes to marketing and sales, especially when you're combining the two. So just turning it on and turning it off after a single campaign, and hey, maybe I'll do another one in 3 or 4 months, like that's not really helpful either. So it's about consistency, constant communication, and the right phrasing, the right wording, making sure everybody's on the same page.
That whole concept of turning off and turning on only seems to work in the B2C market, where it's consumer-based versus B2B.
Yes.
B2C, it's usually disposable needs, repeated customers. You can turn on, buy ads, buy traffic for a particular low cost, transactional type product and make your goods. But when you're talking about selling something that is high value, sophisticated, not, easily digested by an end user as, hey, I need this, or they know what they need, there's no way you can play the spigot game, because the messaging is just not consistent enough, and you got to catch people at need. And unlike consumer products, which generally can run a lot of them can run out, planned obsolescence, or 3 months until refill, or whatever the case may be, we're working with people that have multi-year contracts, and you got to hit them at the right time too. So
and the churn is so low in this industry that not too many people are just out there, searching the internet to find the next MSP, right? I mean, we're talking 3% to 8% is the worst, right? With the average being around 5% churn. 5% churn, you can do the math in your territory. You're talking in the tens of companies that are out there actively searching for a product. So it's saying that a marketing company is going to come in there and just like change your entire thing by themselves is not fair to the marketing company.
Well, that's so to that point, a marketing, just if you're listening to this and you're an MSP, beware of that marketing company, because there's a lot out there. Rob and I have talked to them. We have vetted a tremendous amount of marketing companies, both that are in the industry and outside of the industry. And a lot of times he'll say, yeah, we'll get you 2 qualified leads a week. Don't worry about it.
Yep.
It's like, no, you won't.
No, you won't.
No, you will not.
Yep.
So I like we can poke holes in a lot of marketing spiels, to just be on the lookout for that if you're investigating different marketing companies right now.
And I think that I think what you said there, Tim, and I'm sorry, it's taking me a moment to phrase this thought, but what it really comes down to is you've got to have realistic expectations for what marketing can do for you. And you've got to know what those realistic expectations are within your industry. To your point, Tim, MSPs, talk to any MSP, even off of referral networks. When have you ever gotten 2 to 3 leads a week consistently from your teams, right? Probably never, right? At least at that level, small team, obviously if you're a larger MSP with 10 salespeople, I hope you're seeing 2 to 3. You're gonna have a different problem, but realistically true sales qualified leads, that's a lot, right? So if you don't know your numbers and know what your audience is all about, you're going to have a false expectation and you're going to be let down, right? You're going to be let down. And for most MSPs, I think you have to go into it and say to yourself, and it goes back to what we said early on, it's brand awareness. It's flicking the switch. So when you do get somebody on the line, they go, oh, I think I've heard of you guys. And that's what you're really paying for with the MSP, because it's a know, like, and trust business.
Yep.
And that's what you need to get to. And, if you think you're doing it for leads, probably a mistake in the MSP world. It's really about branding. It's about getting your message out there. It's establishing thought leadership. Yep. And then through those vehicles, then get your local speaking gigs going as another tentacle of potentially your marketing play. Yes. So now you're coming into a group of people and you're being basically given the blessed label of, this is the authority on X. Listen to them. Yeah, that right there. Everything you just said. Yeah. So with that said, guys, I think we covered, at least at a very high level, where marketing can reach sales. I'm sure this is a discussion we'll have again in the future, because there's always new tactics that are coming available. But, with that being said, anything you guys want to share to close before we close today? Any other thoughts? I mean, I guess I would just kind of reiterate the fact that if you are one of those MSPs that is mature enough to have not only some sort of salesperson on staff, but also a marketing presence, whether on staff or outsourced, just make sure that they are communicating constantly. It's not an accident. It's not, one of the things that we have seen is it is just substantially easier to get that first time appointment if you've got a marketing and a sales team that are working together versus not. It's kind of mind-blowing, actually, the difference in first-time appointments and the number of reach outs to get that first-time appointment.
Yeah. Marketing drives awareness or interest. That's what marketing does, right? And then sales takes that interest and drives a result, whatever that result's going to be. And that's how the relationship works together. So one drives the interest and one drives the result based on that interest. And when you get those two pieces working together, it's a beautiful synergy.
Yeah.
So in summary, to close this one out, build a strategy, know who your buyer is, develop a cadence and know where that needs to be spent. Engage your sales team, make sure they know when marketing is going out so they can make the follow-ups. Engage your marketing team so they know what the sales team are facing in terms of objections and challenges, so they can create content to help answer those questions. And then repeat. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yes, consistency is key. 100%, Brian.
So I think that closes up today. Rob, you want to take us home?
Sure. For anybody who's looking to get this episode, it will be up on mspbusinessschool.com or anywhere that you get your episodes, to include YouTube. And if you are out there and you're listening and you have a sales or marketing question that you would like us to kind of pick through and try and understand for you, please, give us a ring, shoot us over an email. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to discuss it on air for you and kind of dissect it for you. With that, fellas, always appreciated. Have a great afternoon.
Yeah,
Take
you
care.
too. All right, bye.